Hey everyone, it's the Photo Tech. I hope you're all doing well. So 30 pounds on Reddit, his name is, and Deadozone on YouTube discovered that the G7se and the T4K with the new firmware updates don't have a linear output when it comes to aiming algorithm. And I think the guy deserves some praise because the way he's tested this is insane. You know, he's used his hands and pushed the stick out as linearly as possible all the way out, and getting all the values from the rest to, you know, the 100%, what are the increments is changing on gamepad tester. And basically he put that all those values into like graphs, and he could see that there are deviations. So I tried doing this by hand, and I'll be honest with you guys, I wasted like 45 minutes, and I just knew that there is no way my hands are steady enough to do this. So I had to use a motorized solution to do it, and all I did was like push the stick as slowly as possible and then recorded the video of the gamepad tester, all the numbers that are changing. After that, I basically got a family member's help, who's a software developer, to read all the data out of the video, the numbers that has changed, and put them on a spreadsheet, and then we can sort of get an idea what the resolution of the controller is, the sticks, and what's going on when it comes to the aiming response. Let's talk about resolution for a second. So imagine a controller has a low resolution. This is something what it would look like compared to a controller that has a higher resolution. So the stick can potentially be in any of these zones. And doing this kind of test will be much easier on a low resolution stick because it's a higher zone. So the sticks are changing from a higher value to a higher value. Very easy to read. But a controller that has a higher resolution compared to a lower one will be very difficult. And I have a feeling, and according to some of my test results, with high resolutions, the polling rate will come in effect as well. That can impact what sort of data you are getting out of it. So that's just a quick visual representation of the resolution and what's going on, you know, with the zones. Let's look at the data for the G7se. So here in this column, these are the numbers of every sort of incremental change that happened when we push the stick out of the G7se. This is the G7se own sticks, non-raw, so what we are looking for is what's happening between these numbers. That's the real interval that we are trying to find. And if we look at the results, so I've just got the, you know, the what's changing between them. Every increment on G7se when it's in non-raw mode, 0 to 100 with their own G7se sticks is 0.56. Okay, that's every incremental change. Every zone, that little zone, like I tried to explain the resolution, is 0.56. But every fourth interval, we have an insert of 0.62. Now this is actually really linear. Every fourth, sometimes it's every third interval, but it's very consistent. Fourth, sometimes it's a third interval, and it's 0.62 consistently. So we have 0.56 all the way through, and then we have a 0.62 between 3 to 4 intervals is just get inserted. This is in non-raw with the G7se's own sticks. So a lower zone value, which has an insert of a higher value when we are in the non-raw mode. And altogether, there were 176 zones in non-raw from basically the center all the way out. And then when we go into raw mode, things change a little bit. The zones are 153 zones now. And that incremental change, so every zone value goes from 0.56, which was in non-raw, now is 0.64. And again, we have the insert every 4 to 3 values. The insert is 0.71, which used to be 0.62. Now, I mentioned this in the past that raw mode will feel more snappier, and this shows basically that's exactly what's going on with raw, is just a higher value per increment, lower zones, but we still have a zone value, like a standard zone value, which then we have every third or fourth zone, we have a higher sort of register zone. And it's very consistent again. 0.64 is the base value, and then we have a 0.71. So 4, and then sometimes is 3 zones. Most of the time is every fourth interval we have the 0.71, sometimes a third one. So yes, non-linear, but still in a very linear manner. This is what I would consider this as. Now, his issue is there was a time when the T4K behaved like the DualSense, which is 0.78 through and through. These are the standard DualSense results, and they are very consistent. 0.78 gave me 120 8 zones, and I only had like one anomaly where I think it was like a double register here. So instead of just a 0.78 value, I'll go 1.5. It's just like, I think the way I was pushing the stick, that it basically got a higher value. Other than that, really consistent. Now, imagine you were playing with the T4K with these kind of values, especially at a higher level. I think you will feel a difference. So this is very consistent, but it is a lower resolution than the G7se. That's for sure. G7se is a 0.56, and then it has that insert. Now, in the past, I have mentioned that I love the Xbox sticks on the G7se. Before the 1000 Hertz came out, it was like my go-to way of playing with this. And a lot of people commented that they like the feeling of the Xbox sticks in the G7se once they calibrated with this, because this is a wider shaft. And things change a little bit when we take a look at the results from this one. So that base interval, the base zone that was 0.56 with the Xbox sticks is now 0.64, and that insert that was a higher 0.62 is now 0.58. And not that it's a lower interval insert, is actually at a much higher difference now. So instead of every fourth or third value, it's an eighth or ninth value. So way more consistent. I would say, I would argue that, yeah, this is a lot more linear than using the G7se sticks. And I don't believe this was the reason that everybody liked using the Xbox sticks. I think it was just like it's more responsive. You know, it's clear that instead of 0.56, we have a 0.64 zone, and then that insert, which was a higher value of a zone, is actually a lower value of 0.58. So if you are struggling, if you think the G7se doesn't feel right because you were playing T4K, this potentially could be a solution. But is still like, you know, it's, if there was a firmware on the T4K where it was behaving like a PlayStation controller, very linear output, you might get used to that and you might be like, you know, that's what you need. For me personally, I think there is a deviation, but it's very linear deviation. And the level I'm playing at, like on Xbox, the 120 frames, I think it's linear enough, because if I look at the chart, like, you know, the line is still straight. And then judging by anything else, this is Xbox Series One. Like, look at this. This is, I still have to do more tests, but there are a few tests that I did. This was the best one that I got, and BFG ones as well. There is a curve that's happening in there because much higher resolution with the appendant modules. It's, you know, the polling rate is an impact here. So personally, I think this potentially can be an issue for you, especially if you are using T4K with the older firmware. Then yeah, you might feel like, okay, something is not right, something has changed, and arguably G7se is definitely not the one. Even T4K with the new firmware, whatever reason they've changed it, the change is there. So £30 Dead Zone, man, yeah, very good find. I think this is very interesting, and especially like he actually felt the difference, and that's why he doesn't use G7se. And I believe he said that T4 Cyclone is still behaving like the older way of a lower, I don't know exactly what resolution is doing, but it's very linear in his test. So definitely check out his post on Reddit and let me know what you guys think. This kind of test, is it important to you? Is it something that you are interested in? Because for me, I mainly do latency, or, you know, the gaming experience of the controller. And resolution is only something that I looked into when Stealth Ultra was out and King Kong 3 Max was, you know, touting very high resolution, and I figured out that Stealth Ultra has like the lowest resolution sticks in my collection. So yeah, definitely share your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you guys think of this, and if you've noticed this issue, especially if you have the G7se and one of the other Gamesir controllers, what are your feelings on it? And thank you to everyone who subscribed, guys. Your support means a lot. Thanks a lot for watching this one. And thanks to Dead Zone, you know, sharing his findings with us. And yeah, hopefully I'll catch you in one of my other videos. Bye for now.